Okay, so it's 6 o'clock. Let's call to order and do a roll call.
Director Daniels,
I'm here.
Vice President LaHue,
I am here.
Director Jaffe. Director Jaffe is absent. Director Christensen
Here.
and President Leather.
I'm here. Okay, so the first order of business is a closed session. Do we have any requests to speak on that item before we?
Yes, we have one request to speak.
Okay.
Ms. Steinbrenner, your mic is available.
Hello, this is Becky Steinbrenner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Today I had a new experience. Director LaHue, you said you had a very interesting day. I'll bet mine beat yours. I underwent almost 4 hours of examination by your Best and Krieger attorney to determine what assets I have. After it was all done, I realized how poor our communication has been between your district and me, and really, I had I understood what that was all about, I would have taken a much different action, and I think you would have too. That was the most expensive route to try to collect some money that the judge says I owed. I didn't even understand what the judgment was. So I went to the library, the public library afterwards, and I've sent a long email to Ms. Schiller and copied Mr. Duncan. It makes me sad that the ratepayers have had to pay so much in legal fees when if the district would have simply sent me a letter or something called an interrogatory that is so much cheaper, I would have answered. But I feel like
30 seconds.
This has become politicized, and it needs to stop. And I am willing to sit down and have requested a meeting to sit down with your district and work this out. I am not trying to evade anything. I'm not trying to hide anything, and I'm willing to sit down and talk. So I hope you will hear more about that, and that Mr. Duncan will share my email with you. And I'm looking forward to hearing from the district. Thank you.
Thank you.
President Lather, this is Ron Duncan. If you'd like me to provide any perspective or clarity on that, I'd be glad to. Cost to our customers. We can hold it for another time. If you
Yeah,
like.
let's hold it for another time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so are there any other comments?
Let's ask if there's any attendees that would like to address the board on this item. Please raise your hand now.
And if you're calling in, you can press *9.
Seeing none, I believe we can move forward.
Okay. Sorry, I kind of misunderstood, so I'm fine. Do any board members want to say anything before we go into the closed session? Okay, seeing none, we will leave this session and return at 6:50. That's it. Thank you. So we're back from closed session and we are now on to number 2, public hearing, and there is none. We go to 3, board members' opportunity to remove items from the consent agenda.
President Lather, I apologize. Before we do that, can we just know for the record there was no reportable action out of closed session?
I'm sorry, I was in a hurry, wasn't I? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Okay, let me see. So now we're on to the the board members, do any board members want to remove items from the consent agenda?
Nothing for me.
I have none.
You do, because I'm having trouble seeing everybody. Okay, there you are. Okay, so we will move on to the consent agenda.
I will move approval of all items.
I will second the approval of all items.
We have a motion for approval and a second. Please do a roll call.
We have
There's
one.
Oh, wait, I forgot
Wait,
something.
We have public comment on the item. Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
I just want to get through the day. Sorry.
Ms. Steinbruner, your mic is available?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I would like to be brief in my comment about the consent agenda. Item 4.2 regarding remote hearings. I did read a little bit about that resolution, as I understand it, that was on your special board meeting agenda recently. But I respectfully request that your board return to hybrid meetings wherein there is some in-person meeting allowed for the public. Item 4.3, I do see on your calendar that on October 19th there will be a public hearing for the Country Club well and treatment, and I would like to request how that public hearing will be noticed. I remember seeing the conceptual plan for that treatment facility, and I think that it is in a residential area. So I ask respectfully that those areas, those residents be mailed a postcard of that public hearing so that people are well aware that it is going to happen, as it will affect them. That's all I want to say now, and thank you very much.
If there's any other attendees that would like to provide public comment on the consent agenda, please raise your hand now. Seeing none, I believe we can move forward.
Thank you, everybody, for keeping me straight here. Okay, so now we can go to a motion for the consent agenda approval.
But actually, President Lather, if you'd like, we can still honor the previous motion and we can just vote on it. It's the board's discretion.
Oh, okay. I appreciate that. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Will you please do a roll call?
Director Daniels,
Yes.
Vice President LaHue,
Yes.
Director Jaffe is absent, Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Lather.
Yes. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we're on to item 5, which is oral and written communications. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to provide an oral communication?
Yes, we received one request to speak.
Okay.
Ms. Steinbruner, your mic is available?
Hello, this is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm hearing tonight a different method of asking for public comment. It was my understanding that the public had to request permission to speak before 3 p.m., but now, gratefully and happily, I'm hearing staff ask if any of the attendees want to speak. So can you please confirm any changes in policy your board has for public participation at your board meetings? I also want to point out that the website has not been updated with videos of past meetings since July 20th. It's very difficult for members of the public who did not attend the previous meeting to look at the minutes of the previous meeting, which you just did approve in the consent agenda, and see, well, there was one public comment or 3 public comments, but there's no substance to that to even give the reader information about what the comment was. Your board has in the past said, well, people can go watch the video, but the problem is those videos are not available. So I respectfully request that the videos be posted as soon after a meeting as possible, and certainly by the time that the agenda for the next board meeting comes out, to assist the public in transparency for your board, first of all, but really for the public to understand what is happening and what happened before, because some of those actions may carry forward into the meeting that they are about to participate in or would like to participate in. And under the Brown Act, it is the responsibility of an agency to do their best to encourage public participation that is well informed and to pique the public's curiosity to encourage them to participate. Thank you very much.
Members of the public that would wish to speak. Please raise your hand. If not, I will move on to members of the board. Also, there's no member from the board that would like to speak. Bron, would you like to provide an explanation or a response to the oral comment that was made earlier?
Sure. Thank you, President Lather. Are you referring to Ms. Steinbruner's comment before closed session? Yeah.
Yes, sorry. I muted myself because I thought I was the reason for your sound.
Okay. No, I think it's important to share some information to provide perspective and some clarity to what the litigant, Ms. Steinbruner, said as part of her comment to closed session. You know, the debtor's exam she mentioned was issued by the court because Ms. Steinbruner has refused to pay the fees, which were ordered by the court almost 3 years ago. You know, we have informed the litigant that she needs to pay the money the court has ordered. People need to pay their debts, and she has refused to pay hers. You know, in March of 2020, Ms. Steinbruner lawsuit challenged the Pure Water Soquel EIR, which was dismissed by the trial court and the appeal court. However, the appeal court entered judgment against Ms. Steinbruner for costs in the amount of approximately, I think it was $3,200 and something dollars. Yet she's refused to pay. We have informed her that she needs to pay. This money is owed to our customers. The court judgment has ordered the litigant to pay these costs to the district, which, as I said, is really our customers' money. And it currently really represents just a small percentage or fraction of what she has cost our customers in the community. Thus, the district is pursuing the monies deemed appropriate by the court. However, if I may, I think separate from the debtor's exam, I'd like to add that I think it's prudent to mention that due to the litigant's constant barrage of lawsuits and attempts to stay and stop the construction of the project, we estimate Ms. Steinbruner has cost our customers close to $1 million to defend the Pure Water project to achieve a sustainable and reliable water supply for our community. At last count, when you break down that total cost per water connection, it's at least $50 per water connection. You know, note that each and effort to stop the project, and there have been many denied by the court, the litigant has filed 4 lawsuits challenging various approvals of the Pure Water Soquel project and 5 injunctions to stop the project. And again, to date, the court has denied or dismissed all our lawsuits and to stop it. You know, I think I've been with the district long enough to say, well, I believe the district believes in one's rights to challenge an action. That's part of our DNA. There's a point when you wonder, after multiple court judgments against them, if a person would step back and take some self-reflection. One person stated best how I think many people feel when they said, Ms. Steinbruner is using the justice system to create injustices. So I think I'll just close it with, no doubt we stand committed and strong for the long haul and to continue to act in the best interest of our customers, the Mid-County Groundwater Agency, the community at large, and the environment. So thank you for that opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Director Daniels, you'd like to say something? Unmute yourself, please.
I would. This appeared in one of the local recent Aqua journals, and it basically says Diablo Water District commits to carbon neutrality by 2027. And I'd just like to put in a pitch that we consider that ourselves. I think it's something our customer, our community would support. And so I'd like to see us look at doing this for the district. Thank you.
Any other directors have anything to discuss? Okay, seeing none, we can move on to the next item, which is reports, and there are none. And now we're at administrative business. Item, let's see, no conditional or unconditional will serve letters. So the next item is the Community Water Plan 2021 Progress Report. So we are now considering agenda item 7.2, and the presenters are Ron Duncan and Rebecca Rubin.
Right. Thank you, President Lather. I'm going to kick it off tonight, and Becca's going to close it on this item. But attached for the board's review to the memo is our draft community water plan for the 2021 progress update report that we want feedback on. But we thought it was important just to give a little background on the community water plan, just to bring everybody up to par. The plan was actually developed about six years ago with our community, and we've been making periodic updates since. It's basically a roadmap to our sustainability. So thank you, Becca, for that slide. It's a grassroots effort developed with our community. The picture on the left shows one of our community-based workshops. There were several of them, and a lot of other ways and methods of obtaining input, seeking that out. The plan at its core involves the three items in the middle, and conservation, groundwater management, and new supplies. The first plan was developed right after the Groundwater Sustainability Act came into being, requiring our critically overdrafted basin to be sustainable by 2040. So, and this is our roadmap. So next slide, please, Becca. So, the community water plan has been such a solid roadmap, not only because it was created with our customers and stakeholders, but it aligns with their values, the community values, and what they want in a water supply. Based on what the district learned in the decel days, the board direction was to focus on not pursuing just a certain supply option, but see what's out there, use a science-based and community-driven processes. That's what we did. And I think that's truly the secret sauce to our success, is because we focused on the marriage of the values and the science and where that intersection was, and it all lined up behind Pure Water Soquel. So just remind us of that. And next slide, please. So here are the kind of components of the portfolio. You got conservation, and I'm going to touch on each of these, but just so you kind of see what percentage they represent. With groundwater pumping, optimization, that helps out about 60% of our portfolio. Stormwater capture and water transfers, we may get up to 10%, depending, and then pure water 30%. So just to give you a kind of a idea what those bring to the table. So I'll go through each of the bedrock components, or each of the components of the pure water, of the community water plan to get us up to speed. So next slide, please, Becca. Thank you. So conservation, right? We like to say we have the world's biggest rebate program. We really might. but it is the bedrock component. And the board has instilled conservation as a priority over the years. And I think Shelley and her team have done an excellent job. We've been able to also achieve great gains by involving other departments. So it's kind of like this conservation ethos is spread through the entire organization. And I think what demonstrates this is this letter to the editor that was in, I think, Saturday's or Sunday's Sentinel. And this is from a customer of ours. A couple things interesting, great customer service from Soquel Creek Water. And what caught my eye about this, she mentions two people from two different departments, right? So I love that crossover, working together. But what really kind of caught my eye were the last couple lines, and it says they both went over and beyond. They also made our day, no, our year. I mean, for somebody to say that in a COVID year, I think that's just awesome. And probably the real hero is these people for writing a letter, taking time to send out some positive vibe out into the community and recognize people who really are passionate about their job. The point of showing you this is our conservation effort is throughout the entire organization, and this letter to the editor helps support that. Next slide, please, Becca. So groundwater management, this is the work that Taj and Christine's crew do, trying to optimize well pumping to prevent further seawater intrusion. They've done an excellent job. It also is kind of like the backbone of the GSP, right? Or what the groundwater sustainability plan, or what the groundwater sustainability agencies are required to do is groundwater management. You can see here in our plan that was submitted to the state, they actually, and we were the first to have approved groundwater sustainability plan. This is through the MGA. In their letter, they actually recognize Pure Water Soquel in their letter to us. They called that project out as being one of the backbones of the plan. So it goes further to that. Next slide, please. Then another component, besides the two core pieces of conservation and well management, pumping optimization, if you will, we've got water transfers. And we did a 5-year program pilot, and we've extended that. We hope to get 300 acre feet a year. As you can see on the chart, we haven't achieved anywhere near that. 2018, we got 165, almost about just over half. 2019-20, we got about a third, and this year or last year we got 0. So hasn't been super successful, but we continue to keep these in our portfolio for diversification. And of course, you can see there's all kinds of conditions here shown on the screen to the water transfers. But Santa Cruz is a good partner, so we continue to work with them. Next slide, please. And then, of course, there's stormwater capture. And, I do think this has some small potential long-term. It hasn't been very successful in the short term. Just in identifying areas, there are not many for stormwater capture and recharge because of the way our aquifer and geology is. But also, it's hard to find local partners. We thought we had one, and they kind of, they're reassessing their situation. So it's tough, right, to find that. So that takes us to the next slide, please, Becca. And so that's, Pure Water Soquel is it is the backbone of the community water plan and I would say the groundwater sustainability plan. There'll be more on this tonight, so I won't go into it, but it gives you a little shot here. The seawater prevention, intrusion prevention wells are in. There's some associated work to be done above them. The conveyance structure shown in the middle is being installed as we, right now, during this time. And then the treatment facility, and you can see the picture on the right, and that's part of the focus of tonight. So next slide, please, Becca. This is my last slide, but I just wanted to note the community water plan, because it's created with our customers, for our customers. We think we're on the right track, right? Because based on their values and the merging with the science of the projects, and it lines up. But we do take periodic surveys to make sure we're on the right track, right? Get that analytical data. And this, I think it was 2020 survey, statistical valid survey shows we are. We're investing, 91% of the people support investments in the infrastructure. We're doing that. The middle ones take strong action now. We heard that throughout the development of the community water plan. I would say that was almost like the number one thing we heard, must act and help us now. And then of course on the right is the 73% of people are comfortable with pure water Soquel. I gave a similar this slide down at water reuse, and a lot of people came up to me and said, it's great to see. They were impressed by that number. They thought it showed a lot of trust in the organization and an understanding of the pure water process. So that was interesting feedback. So that's kind of the history of the community water plan, the why and where we've gone. And I think Becca has 2 slides to show some of the renditions, and so and then the current edition for feedback. So Becca, please take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron, and good evening, Board of Directors. So, our plan is really based on the guiding principle that working together, we can protect our limited and precious water supply today and future generations. So on this slide, you can see the evolution of the community water plan. Since the inception in 2015, we've updated the plan every 2 years. We believe it's an important outreach tool to keep our customers informed of the progress being made. These updates were provided to district customers as a printed copy in the mail with their water bills, electronic links in the district monthly's quick sips, announced on district social media, and distributed at community meetings and events. So before you tonight is the 2021 draft community water plan. We value your input and feedback. And once it's final, we will send to our printer to start distributing with the next round of water bills to customers, as well as all the other methods mentioned before. That's all I got. So I think we have public comment first before we move on to
Right.
board discussion, right?
You're keeping me in line today. Okay. So do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this matter?
Yes, there is one.
Okay,
Request to speak.
great.
I'll have to change new share to go back to the timer. Sorry, 1 second.
Hello, this is Becky Steinbrunner. Can you hear me?
We can.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say publicly that what Mr. Duncan said does not fit at all with what really has happened. And there were a few errors in his presentation. I will send them in writing to your board and request that you make it part of your public correspondence regarding my legal action, which is the only way people can challenge any of your CEQA actions. Regarding this item, I note that Mr. Duncan said that the water transfers are limited to 300 acre-feet a year. That was the pilot project amount. That is true. What is missing from the presentation is the wonderful environmental analysis that the City of Santa Cruz is doing and is moving right along with, and that is the water rights project that would allow the city to sell the district water, more water than 300 acre-feet a year when it is available, and it could be used to help sell to the customers as potable water without the expense and chemical treatments of Pure Water Soquel, without fouling the groundwater, which is a real danger whenever you have a very high technology-based system. And you were told that by the National Water Reuse Institute panel in 2017.
30 seconds.
So I would ask that you also update your customers about the city's, your good partner, the City of Santa Cruz, their move to expand their ability to sell the district more water when it is available during some of the winter storms using subsurface filtration. And so the district doesn't have to pump. That's a good thing, and I think your ratepayers would appreciate knowing that. The Water Rights Project.
Thank you, Ms. Steinbrunner. Your time is up.
Thank you.
If there is any other members of the public that would like to speak, please raise your hand now.
Okay. So now it's time for our board members to provide comments or questions. Director Daniels, do you have anything that you would like to say?
I've got some language changes which I would like to propose. I could do it, tomorrow with Ron, or we can do it here, as you wish.
Have to be in the record to change, I think.
Okay.
Uh.
Okay. On the first page, on the right-hand side, it's under new water supplies. It uses the word protecting the groundwater. I think a more cogent description of that is restoring the groundwater basin. So I propose that change. And let's see what's next. On the next page, under water conservation, it talks about eye meters. And I don't think any of our customers know what an eye meter is. So I think we should put something like a high technology meter or some other description of what it is, so they know what we're talking about. And a little bit further down, it talks about Water Smart. And I don't think our customers know much about Water Smart. I know we do. And then 2 bullets down, it talks about leak detection sooner. And that seems rather, anyway, I've changed the word sooner to almost daily to give people a better notion of, how effective that's going to be. On the right-hand side of that page 2, it talks about a groundwater sustainability report. And actually, it was a plan, not a report. As you can see, it's GSP, Groundwater Sustainability Plan. And so change the word report to plan to correctly identify what it is we're using. Let's see, go to the next document, next page, I mean. Yeah, at the top there, I would talk about Pure Water Soquel is not just a key component, it is the key component of the region's groundwater sustainability plan. So I think we should take credit for what we are, which is, the key to the whole plan. And I think I have one more thing on the next page. No, I don't. Okay, so those are it.
Thank you. I got those. If the board.
Okay, thank you. Next is Vice President LaHue. Do you have any more typos?
Yep, I do.
I knew you would.
I'm sorry. No, but there's a few things. I think the suggestions so far have been good. And let's see, on the first page on the heading on the, what do you call that under Roy's picture? But anyway, there's a word for those things. But anyway, conservation is not spelled correctly. You see where I'm talking?
Yeah.
You're right. It's in the red banner.
I see it. Thank you, Vice President LaHue.
Okay.
Caption, the caption.
Caption. Thank you. That was the word.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it.
Caption, yeah. And then let's see, as we go down to the next, the page under new water supplies, I just wonder if we could simplify the grant program description on the paragraphs under the bullet points under project update. Do they really need things like Title 16 grant program or water infrastructure finance and innovation? Just, I think our customers might just want to know, okay, we got something from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. And that was all just simplifying that. And then somehow clarifying that, 30% of the money or somewhere around there is grants that we don't have to pay back. So I don't know.
On that, I had a comment on the point about a lot of times the part of getting a grant, they want you to put their full name in there and give them credit.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, if that makes them happy, then they've made us happy. So I'm okay with that.
yeah, I think that may be a reason not to take them out. So,
okay. And then lastly, just, it was great, the stuff about the community survey. And I tended to think, gosh, it'd be nice if there was a way to say, and if you have any suggestions, here's where to go. Or comments, like you have all this information that we gained, and we continue to prioritize earning your trust by listening to you and carrying out our responsibilities and obligations with the focus on our customers. I just thought, and if you want to give input, here's where.
I like it.
So
Yeah, that's a great idea.
We'll add something at the end there after the survey. It says if you have.
yeah, just click on this link on the website, whatever it is, to make it easy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I didn't say at the beginning that I thought that it's really nice overall. It has a good look overall. So I don't mean to be focusing on little nitpicky things, but I'm just want it to be as good as it can be. That's all.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Director Christensen? We lose you?
Myself, I heard funny noises. There we go. So the big question I had was about the stormwater capture project, and I now understand why. I thought it was kind of a cryptic explanation. I didn't understand what had happened, but it was the private owner of the site is hesitating or suspending it or just canceling it.
We're in discussions, taking a step back.
Okay. And what was the other highlight? Oh, this indirectly addresses our oral communication on this thing about the water transfers. Just looking at that graph, the table that you presented about what water we've actually gotten from a very small project, we never got close to even the maximum that was in the agreement because of drought conditions or salmon spawning or too stormy and cloudy water. And now we are in a possibly prolonged drought where we will have rain possibly periodically, but we won't have the typical rainy season no one's anticipating a typical rainy season in the next year anyway, coming up. So I just feel like I love to put that whole thing and suspend the whole transfer thing, discussion of that until we actually have water and rainfall, because the city is in control of that project. If they are ready to discuss with us, so they have some progress on their EIR, they can inform us what's going on. So that's all.
Thank you, Carla. Oh, good. I'm not muted. I had questions too, and it was about stormwater capture. And I did notice that there were some attendees here from the county, and I wanted to put a little bug in their ear, especially Matt Machado. I noticed that the Seabreeze burned down and there's all this empty lots there. And in the past, I've been interested in some kind of stormwater capture under the parking lot. I know there's a lot of sewer lines in there, but there are some areas that could be like a reservoir under that parking lot. And in the past, it didn't make sense because there's nowhere to put a little treatment plant, but now there's this big empty lot there. So that may be another opportunity for stormwater capture, because when it rains, it pours down there. And even with a 5-year storm, I'm always trying to figure out how we can get some of that stormwater. So that was one of my comments. And then the other is I hope that people actually start stepping up and looking at the one project that we did find. They're gonna, it had so many options, just ways to help the neighborhood and the community with flooding as well as recharge. So I'm a little disappointed about that, but things will happen the way they're going to. Do we have a motion?
We'll continue to work with it, President Lather.
Yeah. I don't think there was a motion on this, was there?
No, just direction. I think we've received it. I know several of us were writing, so I think we captured everything. Thank you for the good, making it better for sure. You know, even if they're small things.
Nice work on it too. You know,
Oh, it's beautiful.
yeah, consistent.
That's really pretty.
Yeah.
Catches your eye.
This is Becca's handiwork along. So
Nice work.
It's good to have nice, creative people.
Yes.
I'm only creative in the ways I think we could capture stormwater. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item, which is 7.3, consider adopting resolution 2125. Do I have to read it all?
No,
You do not. Yeah.
Okay.
Just 7.3 is enough.
Okay, good. So the presenter is Melanie Mouse Schumacher.
Good evening, President Lather and board members. Tonight I will be leading the presentation, but I will be accompanied by a couple of co-presenters. And I will go ahead and just kind of summarize the item 7.3, which includes three main items. One is the addendum to the EIR for Pure Water Soquel. The second is an amended and restated design build agreement for phases 2 and phase 3 services of the treatment facility project with Black and Veatch. And then the third one is a contract amendment for additional project management and construction management services with Brown and Caldwell. As I mentioned, I will be accompanied tonight during this presentation by Ron, as well as our CEQA team, Elisa Moore from Environmental Science Associates, and Charity Schiller with Best and Krieger. So Becca, if you can cue up the slides. Thank you. We can go ahead and go to the next one. As Ron and Becca mentioned just in the previous agenda item tonight, and I agree, I think Becca, you did a great job on that community water plan update. Our water supply is in jeopardy, and our sole source of supply has seawater intrusion along the entire coastline. As we have been saying, you know, probably at every meeting and at every community meeting, this critical overdraft that the state has designated, what we call kind of the scarlet letter, we're one of 21 in California. We've got that mandate to bring the basin into sustainability. I value what Director Daniel said in terms of the project being an important or one of the projects in the GSP plan. It is an integral piece to ensure that we're meeting the state's milestones and progress towards that sustainability. So next slide. The next couple of slides really are just a kind of a timeline. Again, it's important for us to look back and look forward as we've been going forward and making kind of monumental steps along the way. And the Pure Water Soquel program in itself is literally 7 years in the making. I remember in 2013 when the desalination project, which was our supplemental water supply option at that time, was put on hold by the city of Santa Cruz and the district as a joint project. And we kind of had to go back to the drawing board and initiate a community public process that went on for about 13 months. And again, like what Ron said, it kind of dovetailed to when the state identified and really took ownership of groundwater management in California. And we formulated a long-term roadmap. The community water plan encompassed, I think, what Ron has always kind of said to us, it's not about a project, it's about sustainability. So we really kind of went through and forward with a multifaceted water supply portfolio. It was also during that time that the board directed us to go forward with looking at purified recycled water and still maintaining evaluation and participation in water supply options that were still potentially feasible in the area. So then in 2016 and 2017, really, I think the mantra and kind of, you know, I think what really sets the values of our district is getting public opinion, as well as really kind of basing a lot of the actions that we do based on science and data. So we commissioned the National Water Research Institute to provide some oversight on our activities. We initiated the feasibility study. We actually kicked off the environmental review and preparation of an environmental impact report. And we really started to work strongly and forge partnerships with the city of Santa Cruz and the county of Santa Cruz. In 2017, the groundwater model was developed for the Groundwater Sustainability Agency. And then we dovetailed that to really focus on some of the projects and programs that we were doing here for Soquel Creek Water District. And then the SkyTem data really did confirm and I think display urgency that seawater intrusion was right at the coastline, all the way from the Capitola Soquel area all the way down to La Selva Beach. So, through that process, then by the time we got to 2018, we had done our environmental impact report, and the board at the end of the year certified the EIR, approved the project, and shortly thereafter, the Santa Cruz Sentinel came out with a quote that kind of staff really loves. It says that out of the court of public opinion, the district's pursuit of a treated water recycling plant project was nearly out of the ballpark. And they also use the headline, environmental project approved. So then this really set forward the momentum of taking a project that was pretty much a proposed project and then going into an actual project and moving that forward with design and permitting. Next slide. So in 2019 and 2020, again, I think our district exemplifies seeking community input and doing public outreach along the way. That continued as we went forward with furthering the design on all aspects of the projects and also starting to seek some outside funding and investments. At the end of 2019 was when we were awarded the $15 million Prop 1 groundwater grant and also the $36 million low interest loan through the Seawater Intrusion Control Program. We also started to narrow and really look at the facility sites and designs of those sites. In 2020 and 2021, it was about, again, we're grateful for some additional funding. And we also then started to do construction. So while many of us will think back about 2020 and 2021 as like the pandemic and the natural disasters of the wildfires that were happening here, there was a lot of work and effort on Pure Water Soquel. And so we saw construction happening with the seawater intrusion prevention well starting in July of 2020. Construction of the pipelines in early 2021. Monitoring wells have been awarded. And now before you tonight is the treatment project for your consideration. We do foresee construction, proceeding for, again, about the next 2 years. And I think really by the end of 2023, we'll be bringing the project online, which I think, if you guys will remember, back in 2015, you kind of directed staff to develop and implement and construct a project within an 8 to 10 year timeline. So we're still on track for that. Next slide. There are other benefits to the project. I know we speak a lot about the environmental benefits, especially specifically to our endangered groundwater supply, but there's also a lot of other benefits with respect to the project in terms of the community and other basin users. So the picture on the right illustrates that there are a lot of well users that rely 100% on this water supply, and the project will provide benefits more coastal region wide than just for Soquel Creek Water District customers. It'll also provide, we did an economic impact analysis with Dr. Brent Haddad from UCSC, and through his efforts and his analysis, we calculated that the projects provides nearly $1 billion in economic benefits. We also recognize that without the project, the cost of water would be about threefold to the district customers, because we would have to restrict and ration water in a no project scenario. And the reliable water supply, of course, and supports economic and community vitality and jobs and homes here in the area. Next slide. Just a quick shout out, obviously, we talked kind of a little bit about the ocean being our nemesis with the seawater intrusion that's coming in and threatening our groundwater supply. But we also revere the ocean here in Santa Cruz County. And by reducing the ocean discharge of treated wastewater that goes out to the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary, we're also providing some other additional environmental benefits to the coast. Next slide. So this is one of our, I think one of our most used slides of when we do presentations of Pure Water Soquel, and it's kind of the geographical layout of our entire program. I know tonight before you is the treatment facilities project, but it's always useful for us to kind of, speak a little bit to the whole program as a whole, as it spans about 9 miles. So as I mentioned before, when we were talking about the timeline of the project itself is split into 3 capital projects. The seawater intrusion prevention wells on the far right of that map. We have 3 wells that are strategically placed to take and receive that purified water. The treatment projects, which are the 2 stars, one at Santa Cruz Wastewater Treatment Plant and also at the Chanticleer site, are where the water would be treated at secondary standards at the far left star, and then to the purified standards in the star in the middle. And then, of course, I think kind of the whole network of moving and shifting that water through the treatment plants and out to the seawater intrusion prevention wells is the 9 miles of pipeline that you see there in green and blue. As I mentioned previously, we have been working a lot with regional partners, as you've seen there on the screen, with the City of Santa Cruz, the County and City of Santa Cruz, and the RTC. And again, we are constantly, keeping up with the MGA and, working with the project and the status of it and the actions in the groundwater sustainability plan. Just last month, Ron and I presented to the MGA, along with Heidi and Sierra, on all of the projects and programs that are within the GSP. But it's that, constant kind of inclusion of the plan, because that is really what the mandate is about through the state on the sustainability of the basin. Next slide. So tonight's focus, thank you for kind of letting me kind of set that up a little bit with some overview. We are going to focus on the treatment facilities project. So using the design build model, the district back in 2019 and 2020 had conducted a competitive process and selected Black & Beach Construction and awarded them a phase 1 agreement for the primary tasks of design, exploratory investigations, and development of a price proposal for phase 2 and phase 3, which are the construction, startup and commissioning, and a warranty for the treatment projects. I think that was one of the last public meetings that we've held. That was in March of 2020. And I think it was at that meeting that some Black & Beach representatives were in attendance, and that they're online as well tonight. So thank you for joining. We also had some of our owner advisor Brown and Caldwell up on the Cabrillo meeting, and they're on as well tonight. I think that's where we shared that Black & Beach has performed over 9 had worked and performed on constructing 9 advanced recycled water facilities in California. And specifically, their focus on the project for the district would be to create a project that would produce up to 1,500 acre feet of water, or 1.34 million gallons a day. Now, acre feet of water is very water lingo, of that purified water at the Chanticleer site, and then up to an additional 0.3 million gallons a day of the non-potable recycled water at the Santa Cruz Wastewater Treatment Plant. As you can see on the pictures on the right, this is some of the efforts that have been underway over the last year and a half. The facility sites are very different. The picture on the bottom right is the Chanticleer site. We consider that kind of a greenfield site or open space, because there was just a barn on that property when we first bought it that has been demoed. And then the other pictures on this slide are from the Santa Cruz Wastewater Treatment Plant. And as you can see, it's a very compact site. It's a fully functional facility, and it will provide a kind of a more complex and complicated construction situation, because this is a facility that needs to be running and operational 24/7, because it serves our broader Santa Cruz region. Next slide. So the primary tasks of the design builder for performing the activities under phase 1 of the agreement was kind of what I mentioned before, mostly focused on design, but they're also working on, the conducting of the value engineering and the design optimization to advance the design and incorporate site coordination issues with the city of Santa Cruz and Soquel Creek Water District, as well as they will be doing the construction related activities, which is the construction of the source water pump station and the tertiary treatment facility that I mentioned earlier, which is the cloth filter with the UV system and the associated infrastructure at that site. And then they'll also be constructing at that Chanticleer site that I mentioned, the advanced water purification, which includes the ozone pretreatment, membrane filtration, reverse osmosis, UV and advanced oxidation and post-treatment, similar treatment process if you've gone down to Monterey, what's down there. And then of course, the associated infrastructure related to that. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it includes the startup and commissioning. So they'll be in there testing, making sure it works, meeting the performance criteria that we've set forth. And then following our plant startup and operation, our contracts also includes a 2-year warranty covering associated efforts or discrepancies that would require some corrective work to be done by Black & Veatch. Next slide. So as you know, environmental review and compliance with CEQA is and continues to be a very important piece of our activities, and that the district staff and the board really, make sure that this is thoroughly conducted. As I mentioned previously, in 2018, the project level environmental impact report was certified. And we've been successful when challenged legally in a court by a pro-per litigant, both at the trial level and at the Court of Appeals. For Pure Water Soquel, we've prepared 2 addendums. We have the 2020 addendum when the district was purchasing that piece of property that's adjacent to the Chanticleer site, and pre-treatment had been identified to optimize the advanced purification process. And then a second addendum that we're presenting tonight is included in your board packet as attachment 2, that clarifies the project and then describes that environmental analysis that was performed. So I'm going to take a moment now and turn the presentation over to our environmental team, Elisa Moore and Charity Schiller.
Thank you, Melanie, and thank you, board, for having me here tonight. Just want to very briefly go over the 2021 addendum to the EIR that is part of your board packet that you've had opportunity to review over the course of the past few days, and just share that the addendum includes a bit of background and purpose, as well as CEQA requirements for an addendum. It defines what the project changes are that are subject to the addendum, and then describes the environmental setting and some impact discussions that relate to the minor project changes that are included in the addendum. Next slide, please. The purpose and background for the addendum is that subsequent to the certification of the EIR and adopting of the 2020 addendum, and as Melanie mentioned, staff had proposed additional design changes that were intended to address the space limitations that are present at the Santa Cruz facility site, their ongoing operational needs, and the needs that the city identified as needing to plan for future upgrades that made it evident that there was not as much space available to this project as had hoped. Further, there was some design optimization of the treatment process that was the process that was in the EIR as configuration 3 from the certified EIR. So it's one of the options that was adopted and approved as part of the project. We also incorporated an ozone pretreatment system at the Chanticleer site. Next slide, please. I'm just briefly reminding folks that the space that had been allocated to the project by the city of Santa Cruz within the wastewater treatment facility is kind of at the back of the facility. And in the final EIR from 2018, what we saw was a fairly small area dedicated to the project. In the 2020 addendum, it was expanded a bit to include the pretreatment identified as being necessary for optimization of treatment. And then after further design and the recognition that there was not going to be enough space for that facility in 2021, the site now includes a much smaller facility at the Santa Cruz site, which is just for the making available recycled water for the city's use. And then some additional pump station and other smaller facilities at Santa Cruz. At Chanticleer, next slide, please. In the 2020-18 EIR, we had a site layout that was fairly centralized, and this continues to be the case in 2020 design change, but then incorporating the provision shop site location into the facility design as well, and allowing for space along the frontage for the county overcrossing project to be moved forward. And then today, what you'll see is a similar layout as in 2018, but including the ozone pretreatment as well. Next slide, please. For the 2020 addendum with these changes to the Chanticleer site, in addition of the ozone pretreatment, we've rerun the aesthetic resources visual simulations that give an identification of what the change to the visual character may be for the project. And here you see both directions of the site approach from the public roadway. Next slide, please. The impact analysis that we did in the addendum went through the key topic areas that would be changed or revised through the addendum based on the minor project changes that were made. And what we determined is that none of the minor revisions to the approved project result in new significant effects or substantial increases in the severity of significant effects, and that the addendum is the appropriate form of CEQA. Next slide, please. Charity?
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Charity Schiller from your legal counsel's office. I think it was very helpful for Ms. Schumacher to summarize the factual and policy and purpose background, because I think it is important to look back as well as forward when you are considering projects. And as Ms. Moore set forth, the environmental history on this project is equally as important. And that's really what I want to touch on in terms of the legal context. So as this board will recall, when a project level environmental impact report is completed for a project, CEQA actually limits the ability of agencies to conduct additional environmental review. And what CEQA says is that additional environmental review of a project is really only permissible in fairly narrow circumstances, such as where there is evidence that shows a new significant impact that hasn't been accounted for yet. And as Ms. Moore just summarized, the analysis that has been done by ESA, we believe, provides the board with substantial evidence showing that there are no new significant impacts or substantially worse impacts as compared to those that were disclosed in the EIR. So what I would want to just leave the board with is that the purpose of tonight's action and the scope of tonight's consideration is not for the board to reconsider the entire project from scratch, going back in time, redoing everything from scratch. It's really a narrow focus to look at just the proposed modifications that are before the board tonight and decide if those modifications result in new significant impacts or substantially worse impacts. So I just wanted to make that clarification for the board, and I think we can move to the next slide. Melanie, would you like me to summarize the resolutions at this point?
Sure. Am I frozen? Or
We
maybe
can hear you now.
No.
You were frozen. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So before the board tonight are two resolutions, draft resolution 2125, which is included in the board's agenda packet. This is the resolution that makes the CEQA findings, confirming that the board has reviewed the addendum and that you agree with its analysis. And this resolution would allow the board to adopt the addendum and to approve the minor project modifications that are before the board tonight. Next slide, please. Ms. Schumacher, do you want to touch on the schedule and outreach at this point as well?
Sure, I'll go ahead and do this slide, and then Charity, I think at the end, what we did with this, the environmental review portion is we have the resolutions, but maybe at the end of the presentation and when we get to the board motions, you can also help summarize the other resolution 2021-26.
I would be happy to.
Yeah, thank you both. So I have just a couple other slides to kind of walk through related to the treatment facilities project as part of moving into the phase 2 and phase 3. That definitely means we're going to be in construction mode. And so with the schedule that Black and Beach has provided, that would mean that late October 2021 is when the construction start would begin. And then it would go on for, you know, like I mentioned earlier, over the next couple of years, with substantial completion in December of 2023. Their initial efforts when they start will really focus on initiating that procurement of the equipment and the materials and starting to mobilize with some pre-construction activities. In that early onset is when, you know, and when some of our early outreach will be performed. Again, outreach continues to be, as you saw in item 7.2, an important piece of who Soquel Creek Water District is, and we've brought that into every component of the Pure Water Soquel project. So specifically with the treatment project, we would be utilizing very similar programs and materials and tools that we've been doing with the other projects for conveyance and seawater, the seawater intrusion prevention wells, which includes, you know, issuing postcards to those along the alignment when the construction 200-foot buffer around the sites. We maintain an email update. We have a construction hotline. We'll have the contractor put door hangers if needed around the sites. We also have information cards that we will have for crew members that are at the facilities. We have the fact sheets, a dedicated web page, and of course, we're still going out and speaking a lot, even though it's COVID times. We do go out and do meetings and presentations to schools, community groups, residents and businesses, and we'll continue to do that. I think one thing to note in terms of Pure Water Soquel is that our outreach, of course, is going to be, you know, focused a lot, especially the construction, on those, you know, really kind of near and dear into our community. But Pure Water Soquel is also a showcase project for California, and our outreach goes even beyond kind of our county, and it goes out statewide. So next slide, before the board for consideration is the amended and restated design build agreement with Black and Beach. This is similar in structure and organization to the design build agreement that we have for the conveyance infrastructure project, and includes but isn't limited to, you know, the obligations, the compensations, and the terms and conditions, as well as the numerous exhibits that detail things such as the supplemental conditions, the drawings and specifications, the scope of work, and the performance criteria that we would be, you know, contractually working with Black and Beach on. As noted in the packet in attachment 3, we have provided the draft agreement and a list of the exhibits, and we've also included in the packet a detailed scope of work that Black and Beach will perform under this agreement. Next slide. So the price proposal provided by Black and Beach is higher than the earlier cost estimates that we developed in 2019 that had the upper range in the high $68 million. But the price proposal still is within the Pure Water Soquel's overall program budget and is reflective of some of the escalations in cost considerations that Ron and I want to speak to in a couple of the subsequent slides. Working with Black and Beach, the price to construct and do that startup and testing and provide that 2-year warranty is $87 million and $22,827. It's a lump sum price to perform all of the work therein. We recognize that, you know, during that period where we were doing the phase 1 design efforts and developing the cost proposals, that 2021 did have impacts related to our project, both in terms of cost as well as schedule. But also during this time, we want to recognize that we have sought independent of cost evaluations. We had 2 of them, one by Jacobs Engineering and the other one by Brown and Caldwell. And both of these recognize that the price of the project was fair and reflective based on today's market. Next slide. So as I mentioned, Ron and I would like to just, take a couple moments and kind of talk a little bit about the budget considerations. We recognized that, where and why are we seeing some higher costs than what we had originally planned and calculated in 2019. First, the pump stations and yard piping that were always part of our project were in the conveyance infrastructure project at the beginning when we were kind of looking at the project holistically in 2018. However, that scope had shifted over to the treatment facilities as we started working with the design builder, and we felt that allowing this better coordination to be within, kind of inside the fence of the treatment project, it was better to associate some of the scope into the treatment project. We also at this time, during the design evolution, identified that pretreatment was a method that we wanted to also include in the project to address the water quality considerations and also to optimize the advanced water process. As mentioned previously, due to some of the design efforts, the cost, the value engineering and the design optimization, we had some schedule extensions, and those schedule extensions also had to include things that we were seeing and being reflective of the supply chain issues with the economy at the time. And again, I think I'll summarize just with the global pandemic and the unprecedented times with cost. Ron wants to speak a little bit more on the next slide.
Thank you, Melanie. I will address the graphs, but I'll take your eyes to the bullet points first. And this slide is, regarding some of the economic challenges, and the next slide will be about how we address those, because we know finance is an important component of any aspect we do, and it's near and dear to the board's heart regarding the customers. So, there, as it shows in the first bullet, there's been, surges in cost and the market commodities and supply chain issues impacting shipping and materials. And what's interesting, normally there's a single driver. It's very easy in economics to point out what that is. In this case, what we're seeing, there is no single motor propelling the commodities upwards. It's a combo in both the supply and demand areas, and both are being hit by a series of shocks. So it's different than really almost we've ever seen before. So that leads to the third bullet point, is that creates considerable risk and uncertainty in the market and everything. And what the bottom 3 graphs, what catches your eye is right around 2020, all of a sudden the graph goes up, right? I mean, asymptotically. On the middle one, the scale's a little different, but you can still see it goes up. So that is, price escalation or some sort of economic, dramatic increase, right? Across, whether it's residential construction goods on the right or just general construction indices in the middle. The one on the left is, I'll just speak to that one to give you a real sense. What that is the cost in shipping a shipping container from China to the United States. So in 2015, for a while, it was right around $1,500. Now it's over $10,000, more than a 6-fold. And actually, it's probably closer to $15,000 if you can get one. So these are the kind of things that, like, whoa, trying to get a project done, on time and price. So those are the considerations. And then if you go to the chart up in the right, it shows certain commodities, the change in pricing over 1 month and a year. And you can see, like, for iron and steel and different products, it's gone up considerably. You can see the percentages there. So quite a challenge as we work with our design builder. And, we want everybody to come out whole in this process. So next slide, please. So we developed certain strategies to mitigate these uncertainties and basically the risk and the cost, right? So one of the things that the board did that was very smart at a meeting or two ago, they went ahead and authorized the procurement of the building that will house the treatment facility. Well, already since BV was able to lock that in based on the board action, that's gone up tens of thousands of dollars. So right there, that early procurement. The other thing we're doing is we're working with the design builder to encourage more early procurements and to lock it in as early as possible, even to the point of maybe they are considering getting a warehouse so they can buy stuff and make sure it's available. So very important. And if the board takes action tonight on some of the motions put forth, we'll be able to lock in the project costs and the schedule with that. So I think the important thing to realize that the backbone of the strategy is really working with our design builder to go, who's most appropriate, it gets the, to handle the risk and the cost. And so if you think of the design builder, they're kind of more appropriate to be like the insurance company. We can't risk, wild inflation. So they've taken that on. They're a very large company. They can do that. It costs a little bit, but it's a good value and for what we're doing. And it helps limit escalation and that sort of thing. So there are the three strategies that we've put forth thus far to try to mitigate the impacts from this kind of unusual economy that we're in right now. So I think with that, I'll hand it back to Melanie. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. I think that really kind of concludes the Black and Beach amended and restated design build agreement in terms of the scope, schedule, and budget. So the last item that we wanted to present tonight to the board for their consideration is a contract amendment for some additional program and project management with Brown and Caldwell. They're our owner advisors for Pure Water Soquel, and they've been working with us through the initial evaluation and conducting some of the feasibility and basis of design back in the early years, and have been, very instrumental in keeping momentum of the project. The contract amendment is provided in the board packet as attachment 5. And really it outlines the key services and support that Brown and Caldwell would be doing, which includes providing construction phase quality assurance and assistance. It also would provide contracts and technical oversight for both the design build contracts for conveyance and treatment. It also includes project management and some engineering support for our treatment facilities and our well projects. And it also will help us with some long-term operation contracts for the facilities, which will be, next on our plate as we undertake construction and are looking for the operational considerations of the facility once online. And of course, again, as I talked about the project, there's many projects underneath an umbrella, which is the Pure Water Soquel program. So again, that ongoing program management support and technical advisory services is also included in this. The BC services that I just discussed would be on an I'm tongue tied now with all this talking, sorry, on an as needed basis and, existing under a time and material contract, which we have with them already, with a not to exceed provision of about $3.49 million. This allows the project and the construction management to be adaptable during this construction phase. It allows the district to still have a lot of control and flexibility. And I think that the working relationship right now between Brown and Caldwell and the district has been very collaborative. And we recognize that their consultant services have provided high value with some short-term assistance with very high level of professionalism. It also has, helped, our limited staff and hasn't overburdened the district with hiring additional staff that would create kind of a burden in the long term once the project is complete and the construction is over. So next slide. In conclusion, I just kind of wanted to wrap up that, I know tonight's item again focused a lot on the treatment project, and as we look back and forward and left and right, we can't not acknowledge the outside funding sources that we receive. I'm not going to go through all of them, Dr. LaHue, but really, I think we've said them enough, and they do. I think appreciate the gratitude that we do give these funding sources, because it's an investment to them, to communities in California as well as the state, on helping communities develop reliable water supplies. So through these state and federal agencies, and we've been grateful to get $56 million in grants, and over about $125 million in low interest loans. Leslie and her finance team has also helped us acquire interim financing through CoBank. So we're able to kind of really modulate the cash flow, as most of these programs are reimbursements. And so we're pretty salient, and it's with this outside funding that we're able to have, a sound financial support for getting this project to be constructed. It's a real, I think, true testament to these agencies to kind of, recognize the importance of pure water Soquel, and we recognize that they're important to us. Next slide. So in closing, I just kind of want to wrap up. I know I've been talking a long time, but today marks another milestone. The treatment project that will be producing that purified water to replenish and, like what Dr. Daniel said, restore the groundwater basin is important. I think another shining moment or thing to point out is that this is a recycled water project. So we're also helping California's goal of increasing recycled water and meeting their statewide goal on that. I do want to take a moment. I know that we've had some project partners that are watching tonight. This project is part of the working collaborative relationship of the city and the county of Santa Cruz. So many of their staff members are here tonight, for County of Santa Cruz and the City Public Works Department and the City Water Department. And of course, we've been working with the Regional Transportation Commission with the co-location of the facility at the Chanticleer site. Also, again, the district staff and our team of consultants. I know Rod and I sometimes are the face of the project, but this is a lot of people behind helping this project along. So I think I'll conclude. Again, what I want to do is kind of leave here with saying that, again, thank you for the opportunity to present this information. Staff is here to answer questions. And again, Charity, if you don't mind, maybe just reiterating the resolutions that are included in our board packet. We also have some other possible board actions tonight for the board to consider. Thank you.
Of course. So as summarized here on the slide, Resolution 2125 is included in your board packet as attachment 6. That is the resolution that would adopt the CEQA addendum and approve the overall clarifications to the project. Resolution 2126 is also included in your board packet. It is attachment number 7. That is the resolution that would bless and authorize the execution of the amended and restated design build agreement. Those two resolutions, together with the other recommendations on this slide, which are also available in the board packet at page 155, would implement the items that Ms. Schumacher, Ms. Moore, and Mr. Duncan summarized for the board tonight. So I think with that, I will stop talking.
Yeah. I had kind of made a promise to the other board members that we would take breaks. I'm not sure if this is a good time to do it, but
maybe after, right after.
okay. But, I mean, there's could be quite a bit of time. Okay, so what I'll do is
you're in charge, whatever you'd like.
Yeah, I'll open this to public comment, and I saw a hand go up and come back down. Okay, so there is public comment.
Let's begin with the one request to speak we received from Ms. Steinbrunner, and then we'll open the raise hands.
Ms. Steinbrenner, your mic's available.
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbrenner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I will submit some written comment here in addition to my testimony here, but I want to make it clear I am really glad, if I understand these changes correctly, that the district would now not be pumping chloramine-laden effluent through the pipeline that would cross waterways. So I would appreciate if ESA can please confirm that the water quality of the effluent will not contain chloramine. I think that's great. I'm really happy. The bad news is that the ozone is more energy intensive and more expensive, and I see that the energy requirement for this project has increased even over what it was in the 2020 addendum, which doubled the energy demand analyzed in the original certified EIR. That issue alone needs to be analyzed better. It's a very cursory statement here. There's no calculation of why, and that needs to be corrected. It was the energy problem that shot down the desal program that you tried to do with
30
the city.
seconds.
So please pay attention to that. My last comment I'll make is that the pedestrian overpass is not shown in any of the figures. The aesthetics of a 60-foot tower and a very high box-like PW tank is not analyzed aesthetically. And I please beg you to put in a larger than 6-inch pipe for recycled water to accommodate future irrigation uses of the recycled water.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Steinbrenner. Your time's up.
Thank you.
Mr. Machado, your mic is available.
All right, thank you. Good evening, President and Directors. This is Matt Machado. I'm one of the Deputy CAOs and the Director of Public Works for County of Santa Cruz. I want to start by thanking the board for your forward thinking to pursue, finance, and implement this project. Pure Water Soquel is a great project. It's an example of how your agency is protecting the environment while providing a much needed service to our community. Furthermore, I'd like to thank your board and staff for working closely and coordinating multiple projects in our county, including the one that's under discussion right now. It's a very tight fit, and we were successful bringing those two projects together, which is the Chanticleer pedestrian crossing and your project on Chanticleer. So great teamwork. I really appreciate that. I value our partnership and our ability to work together, and I really look forward to future endeavors. And again, congratulations on so many great projects coming together. And for this one to continue forward, it's really a value to our community and to our larger region. So thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. I had to figure out how to unmute myself. Are there any other people?
I'm not seeing any other hands up, President Leather.
This is Emma, and I would just like to share an email from Mark Dettel, the Director of Public Works at the City of Santa Cruz. He's unable to join our meeting tonight, but in an email to the General Manager, Ron Duncan, earlier today, he wrote, I do want to convey that the City of Santa Cruz Public Works Department continues to be an active partner in this important project, and I am looking forward to the completion of this critical water supply project. Thanks.
Thank you. So next we can move on. Comments? So Director Daniels.
Just a second. Okay. So yeah, I have a few things to say about this. Let's see, where was that document? First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who's worked on this. I mean, this is indeed a very complex project, and all sorts of things need to happen with this to make it work properly. And I think staff and our consultants and our advisors and our legal team and our environmental team have really done an excellent job to put all this stuff together, and it's really pretty wonderful to see all this. Let me see. I've got some comments here. I need to find them first. So give me a second. Why don't you go on to someone else and then come back to me, because I need to get these notes up and I don't seem to have them. So.
Okay, Tom, you're next on the list.
All righty. Well, I mean, it's been a long process. And throughout the process of evaluating all the potential solutions, and I was there for the whole desal project, and then shifting gears and trying to thoroughly evaluate potential solutions and develop the community water plan, all to protect our groundwater basin and restore it from seawater intrusion. And I think, like we have before in evaluating this small part, minor modification of the project, I just feel really lucky to be part of an organization that has a board that's so thorough and careful, and a staff that's so dedicated and committed to doing the right thing and trying to save our customers as much money as possible. It's been really good. And sometimes, we've had to really analyze, like, is this water going to be safe? So we really wanted to be absolutely sure it was going to be safe for our customers. And we spent a long time on that. And then, so, to me, in the perspective of all of this, we're just continuing that thorough evaluation. And we made a few minor modifications here. And we continue to look at the pros and cons and listen to the comments and different viewpoints. And, but it's just been really a good experience overall over all these years. And so, my responsibility, I look at, as being an elected member of the board, is to be thoughtful and be reasonable and try and do what's best to make decisions that'll take care of our customers now. And, I've been always focused on, okay, well, what about the 50 years from now? And so I feel like that's what we're doing. And so I just also, like Bruce said, I just want to thank everybody. I don't think I can, I know Melanie, you've just been amazing in your dedication and never giving up and trying to search for grants. And then, Lydia helping you with that, and Leslie helping, and Ryan and everybody in the financial team, and then Ron leading it. And just, I know I can't name everybody. I know Taj has been really important. And then I know Anoop has been a good consultant and good help. So if I forget anybody, sorry, but thank you very much.
Okay, I can do it again now.
Okay.
Okay, I think it's fairly clear, given the discussion you'll see here tonight, is that the board members have carefully and fully reviewed everything that we have. And I think we'll find that the analysis is really complete. And I think that's something all of us have wanted all along, is that we didn't want the EIR review to be a whitewash. We want it to be thorough and complete and accurate. And I think that has been achieved. So, if there were any problems there, we wanted to know it because we wanted to fix them. And we've been very thorough that way, because all of us believe that it needs to be done that way. I want to make sure that everyone understands there's really transparency and openness in this entire process, deliberately. And even though the CEQA process does not require an addendum like this to be publicly circulated for review, and in fact, it's not even necessary to present it to the board at all. The district has in fact gone above and beyond what's required by publicly noticing and agendizing this item for consideration by the entire board and the public. And in considering this item, the board has looked at all the evidence that's been presented tonight, including comments by the person who disagrees with the project. Overall, I believe that the addendum before the board tonight presents a complete and accurate explanation of why all these minor, really tiny minor modifications to the Pure Water Soquel project will not result in any new significant impacts. And so that's all a good thing. And so I'm very happy with it and ready to go with it. So thank you.
Okay, Bruce Jaffe's not here, so Director Christensen.
Yes, I've got a couple of things to say. First of all, this is the culmination of huge years and years of work to come to this decision and commit to this project, financially in a large way. And as your elected decision makers, we take very seriously this duty. Every board member has been very involved. The district has been an astounding team of working to answer our questions and to solve problems that came up. And the addendum up for review tonight is an example of that. So it's very, it's been a huge amount of work that I just commend. Anoop was essential to helping keeping this moving along and on schedule, which was really was a major achievement in saving money for the district. The environmental impact report from the beginning to the addenda under consideration tonight by ESA under Alyssa Moore is astounding. It's outstanding in its clarity and transparency, and it did make possible the board could look at any possible issues that came up. And I obviously speak for the rest of the board in saying that I feel confident in the strength of that EIR and the addenda, and the materials, the board materials, the packet materials that are provided in 7.3 provide information for anybody who wasn't here or paying attention to the Pure Water Soquel project at its inception to catch up and see all the work and all the steps that we're taking to ensure a good project. But under the scope tonight is not the EIR. This is a narrow addendum. It doesn't include from the beginning EIR. We're not reopening consideration of the EIR. We're not reconsidering any approval of the Pure Water Soquel project now. We're ready to move forward on this. The addendum tonight is to approve minor modifications to the project. And it's particularly the one portion of the pretreatment process used to purify water. And that is the advanced oxidated process. And it's, my own research and tours of all of these pure water purification plants indicate that this is a standard operating procedure for purifying water. And as such, it's not a major exception to the original EIR in any way. Right now, Monterey's Pure Water project incorporates the AOP process to ensure the quality of their water. It's considered an essential step for purifying water for reuse. So I'm ready to move forward. I compliment everyone involved in this process. It's very, it's been exhausting, especially exhausting to some people, but they deserve a lot of recognition for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Christensen. So last part is for me. I just want to make it clear that these are minor changes to a project that this big is pretty normal. I've been in charge of a lot of projects where partway into the project being constructed, there's been some changes, or right before it's going to be constructed. This is pretty normal as far as the process goes. And it's common to undergo minor refinements to your project as you proceed. It shows that the agency's staff is being proactive and open-minded about ways to improve projects in a manner that maximizes our public benefit and really makes the project much better. I was happy to hear the speaker acknowledge that we did improve the project to the, and that is the truth. And I'm very proud of this project. I go around boasting about it everywhere I go. And I'd really like to thank staff for all their hard work. I know that they've all put in extra, all the extra miles needed to get this project to this point, and I do sincerely appreciate it. So with that, do we have a motion?
Yes, I'd love to make the motion, and for the little district that's small but mighty.
I'll second it
For all the motions, 1A through F.
and I'll second that. And, so that we become a pioneer and a model for other small communities struggling to obtain water sustainability.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Director Daniels?
Yeah, I just wanted to add some stuff here. I think some people might look at this as a very expensive project, but if you look at what we're getting, we're going to be able to put 500 million gallons of water, new water. I mean, finding new water in this state is like impossible. And we're finding brand new water that we're not having to take from somebody else. It is completely drought-proof water. So this project will be drought-proof, and getting a drought-proof project in this state is pretty damn lucky. So I think, we are really getting a bargain here out of this. And so I think it's wonderful.
Charity?
President Lather, if I may, I apologize for interrupting the discussion, but we have just become aware that apparently during her public comments this evening, Ms. Steinbrenner submitted a rather lengthy email, including a number of written comments. It was submitted to the district at 8:25 p.m., so about 10 minutes ago. And if it pleases the board, we would appreciate taking a short break so that we may share that email with the board. And so that after that short break, we can provide just to review the email and provide a quick response for purposes of completing the record.
Okay. Okay, well, yeah, we can come back to the motion in 10 minutes.
That would be.
Put us at 8:50.
Okay, 8:50 it is.
Okay.
Thank you, President Lather. We appreciate that.
So we're going to a short closed session.
No, not a closed session, that just the staff and consultants will go away. The board can stay here and we'll reconvene.
Can I take a break then?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
10 minutes.
Yep.
Something's happened to my screen. Okay, I'm back. Is everybody else back?
Here.
Looks like it. Okay.
Okay, and President Lather, if I might say, if you would officially announce closing public comment, and then I'll advise you of the next, I'd like to pull up the correspondence that we got though after that, if you would close public comment.
Okay, I thought I already did, but I will close public comment and bring it back to the board.
Yes, and if I may interrupt a little bit, and you may have closed public comment, and I apologize if you had. What I would like to do is let the board see the emails that recently came in from Ms. Steinbrunner late this evening. We have reviewed them, and then Elisa Moore can talk to the points of it. But I will note that even after all the litigation that we mentioned, she's threatening again to reserve the right to litigate this. So
I have a quick question. I mean, typically when people submit written communication while a board meeting is already in session, we don't necessarily have to review that, right?
that,
We haven't had
Josh,
time.
can you answer that? That's probably correct, but we have gone to the point of doing.
Right, I know. I'm just,
Yeah.
this is a special circumstance because most of the time written communication doesn't come in while you're already in a meeting.
Right.
And so,
Director Hugh, I think this is also a product of the COVID era where, previously these sort of letters would be delivered in person at the hearing, but your point's very well taken.
oh, yeah. But I mean, that happens even in live meetings where they hand it to us, but we don't have time to read it. So we can't really.
Well, we're gonna give you a minute to look it over in case you differ with any of our consultants' opinion. But Emma, if you'd bring the letter up or both emails up now, please, and or Becca, whoever has them. So this is one, and I'd like to take about a minute for you to scroll through that so you can get a chance to look at it, and then we'll bring the other email up so you can look at it. We want you to formulate your own thoughts, see if you agree with our analysis. And you can slowly scroll down if you want, as you think a proper reading pace.
I'd like to also say that I think all the board members received it too.
Oh, well,
Okay, some of them may have already looked at it. Thank you, Director Christensen.
I didn't quite get as far as you're scrolling.
Yeah, what did I do with my mail?
Okay. Whatever, yeah, okay. You can scroll for me.
Yeah, the tower, that's ridiculous.
case anybody objects, I think we can go to the next email. I know I'm a
That's
pretty
fine.
slow reader and I could read all that. Thank you. I have read it once, so. Director Lather, would you like now for Elisa Moore to come up and give her professional analysis conclusion of these comments?
She seems to be offline.
Okay. Maybe
Oh, you know what? I have sketchy internet. My picture.
Okay. So if you'd like, we can bring Elisa Moore up now to address these, the analysis we did. And Charity, if you want to say any words, please add in.
Thank you. I was provided copies of the 2 emails that were received during the course of the meeting, shortly after they were delivered to you, and reviewed them in light of and in looking at them in terms of the project changes that are the subject of this 2021 addendum, and as compared to what was analyzed in the EIR and the 2020 addendum. And in reviewing the comments and questions raised regarding the project changes that are the subject of the addendum, the current addendum, the items that are raised are all addressed in the addendum, including analysis of aesthetics resources, noise, energy, and hazardous materials that are part of the project as currently described. And so I don't find that there is any need for additional impact analysis or a different CEQA approach than the one in front of you.
Great.
Okay, thank you. So we'll hand it back to you, President Lather. I know.
Thank you for evaluating it.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Charity, did you have anything to add or?
I don't have anything to add. Well, I guess I do have something to add, which is just to say, you know, the board can see, for example, in the addendum in the agenda packet, which I know you have all reviewed, but just to provide some pinpoint sites, that aesthetics, including the aesthetics of the potential telecom pole, and it is a pole, it's, you know, it's not a huge lattice tower or anything like that. Those are presented at page 164 through 168 of the agenda packet. There's even a visual depiction of what the site would look like, inclusive of the pole. The discussion of construction trips can be found in the agenda packet at pages 168 through 169. The energy discussion, which is presented in the addendum, is in the agenda packet at pages 172 through 173. And it's not so much the use of energy that is critical, but what the environmental effects of that energy usage are. And those are expressly analyzed numerically in the air quality and GHG portions of the addendum, which are on pages 170 through 171 of the addendum in the agenda packet. So I could give other examples, but I think that provides a good summary of why the issues that are raised in Ms. Steinbrenner's correspondence tonight are not new issues and that they have been fully analyzed.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we're back to the motion and the second.
Which have been done. And so now we're ready for roll call.
Yes.
Director Daniels,
Oh, yes, please do.
Vice President LaHue,
Absolutely, yes.
Director Jaffe is absent, Director Christensen,
Yes.
and President Lather.
Yes. Director Christensen.
Yes. Oh, I said it. Yes.
Did you guys hear me?
I heard both
I
of you.
did.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. I've got this
It was a yes, we heard you.
Internet issue. Okay, thank you.
I heard 4 yeses.
Good. So we've got the motion and unanimous vote. Let's move on to the next agenda item, which is the water loss audit for 2020.
My favorite item.
Thanks, Charity. Thanks, Alyssa.
Thank you very much, you all.
Thank you all.
Great job. Anoop, Alyssa, Charity, Josh. Thank you.
Right, can I get started?
Yes.
All right. Well, good evening. Nice to see you all. Item 7.4 is an informational item presenting the results of the calendar year 2020 water loss audit. And we do this audit every year, and it's a high-level summary. The high-level summary of this year is that our water loss and data validity didn't change too much from the last few years. And overall, we have a lower level of loss than most other California urban water suppliers. So every year, the district is required to submit a detailed report of our water losses to the Department of Water Resources for the prior calendar year. And then this information is used by the State Water Resources Control Board to develop standards for water loss that will be applied to the urban retail water suppliers in the future, with the first year of compliance being 2028. And we're required to use a specialized software from the American Water Works Association and to get our water loss audit validated by a third party before we submit to DWR. And the audit looks at how much water is being lost between our source, so in our case, groundwater wells and some limited water transfer sites, and then where it's being used. And so it fundamentally assumes that all the water in our system should be accounted for, either as consumption or as loss. And the goal is to characterize the type and the quantity of that loss so that we can identify ways to decrease it as much as possible. In the future, suppliers will be required to meet targets that are set by the state for things like non-revenue water and the amount of water lost per service connection. And unfortunately, the audit this year has shown that our water loss is much lower than the median of all California water suppliers included in the analysis. And the results of the audit are shown in attachments 2 and 3. And the performance indicators are summarized in this table here in the memo. So things that the district has done, like universal metering and really diligent tracking of our water produced, imported, exported, have really kept loss per service pretty low and is a real testament to the diligence of our staff. And at this time, the individualized state standards haven't been released, but based on the draft materials, we appear to be in a good position to meet them. It hasn't been finalized, so we're definitely tracking that closely. One thing that we did identify in the audit as an area of improvement that will help us to meet the state standards is the data validity score. And so this score is a grade that's given to each data point and to our audit overall based on the quality of the information we're putting into it. And so this is generally how well things are metered, how often we test for accuracy, things like that. And our score for 2020 was 60 out of 100, which is fairly average across all suppliers, but it could be improved. And if we do improve our validity score, we may be able to opt out of some of the reporting requirements that may be required in the future. So a couple of things that we could do to increase the score are to test our production meters more frequently and to establish protocol for testing our customer meters more proactively, especially for large meters. These would have the biggest effect on our score because they influence the biggest inputs into the audit, which are for production volume and for consumption. And the good thing is that we are working on these things and hope that it will increase our score in the future. And so for the next, looking towards the next audit and for the next year, we will be following the development of these performance indicator standards from the state. Hopefully that will happen at the beginning of next year. And we'll also be familiarizing ourselves with the next generation of the software we'll be required to use. And I'm working on some of those actions I mentioned to increase our data validity. And so no action is required on this item, but I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. And I do think we have Greg Wilson, who's our water quality program coordinator, on the call as well. So he could help with any questions on that side if you have them. Thank you.
Any public comments on this item?
Yes, we have one request to speak.
Ms. Steinbruner, your mic's available.
Thank you. This is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I applaud the district for really monitoring this and doing a good job of watching for leaks and auditing the whole status of the system. And I think replacing the Soquel main is going to really go a long way to helping with that. I just want to relay to you, and I think this is an appropriate time, that when I was at the district office last Friday afternoon, one of your customers did come and was trying to figure out how to access the building to talk with staff. She had been notified of a leak with a door hanger, and the leak had been going for 30 days, she said. She was an elderly woman and handicapped, and she was very distraught. There was no one at the office that she could talk with about it. But I asked her about the new Water Smart equipment and things. Was she able? Didn't she get any notification sooner? And she said no. It only came about with a door hanger, and with the dates given on things, she said it had been going for about 30 days, and she has no idea how she'll pay her water bill. So I applaud the district for doing all that you can, and hope that you also continue
30 seconds.
to, thank you, to really do more outreach with maybe the elderly people to help them understand this new technology that maybe she could have detected the leak herself. I don't know if she has a cell phone that you have to do that, but thank you for your work.
Sorry, I had trouble unmuting myself. Are there any other comments?
Okay.
I don't see any.
I will, no, I'll do it. I was waiting for my turn.
Director Christensen.
I love this item because I guess I always felt like the very surest way to get some more water is to slow up leaks, catch them earlier, and do preventive maintenance on at risk water mains and things like that. And I think the district does about as good a job as they can on that one. It really is very impressive how proactive everyone is. So this is a good job. And I think the additional suggestions, I think it's cost effective to upgrade the meters. Just I'll put my 2 cents on that because it could save a lot of hassle in later years. So I'm all for that. You want to present that at another meeting. Anyway, that's all.
Thank you, Director Christensen. Are there any other directors with?
I was just gonna thank everyone for, and Alyssa especially, for doing analysis, and I like that we've, still working on trying to find ways to, see if we can have a better result, so thank you.
My internet is really not working very well. Sorry about that. Any other directors would like to talk on this item?
I was wondering if, we've had a big effort in the last, year and a half or so to replace all of our meters with the new iMeters. And I'm wondering, do we get any credit with these audits for doing all that effort or not?
Yeah, so upgrading to advanced metering infrastructure, it does help marginally with our data validity score because we do have better tracking of the consumption because meters are read daily. But other than that, it doesn't really contribute. This audit really looks at what's between our production meters and then what is what we measure as consumption. And so customer leaks don't really factor into this audit.
Okay.
Well, I just know from my personal experience that I had a leak and I was told about it very quickly. After I got the meter, before I got the meter, I was told about it, but it still cost me quite a bit before we figured it out. So I think that there's a big, improvement. But if you don't have internet, you don't have a answering machine, who knows, all you get is the door hanger, and that's just the way it is, unless you can get more technology. But I've even gotten, made aware that I was using more water than usual, and it was because my kids were washing their clothes. So it's pretty interesting. I appreciate it. Informational items. So if there's nobody else that has anything to say, we can move on to adjournment.
Okay.
Is that a yes?
That's
I move we adjourn.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.